The official release of the final Scarlet and Violet sets will fast be upon us, with Black Bolt and White Flare releasing on July 18th. These twin sets will have their own products, including ATBs, booster bundles, and more. While these are two separate sets, and because they're two separate sets, I feel that they each have deserved their own top 5 cards video, which means that you've probably already seen, or hope you've already seen, the top 5 cards from Black Bolt that went live on Monday, or if you're seeing this in the future, in the past, so it's available to watch. So if you haven't seen that, definitely watch this. Definitely watch that rather after this video. But today we're going to be looking at the top 5 cards from White Flare. As always, we're going to start with the art highlights, the shining fun stuff from the set. So art highlights for the set include the art for Cottonee and the art for the illustration rare Zebstrika. This is Sui and Ren, two very well respected artists in the Pokemon trading card game. The art for this Cottonee honestly could have easily been its illustration rare if it had been made a full art, but it was not. It's a super beautiful card though. And then of course Zebstrika, one of my favorite Pokemon from Generation 5 here in awesome top form with the stamping alongside the coast with the thunder in the background. Super great art. Additionally, we have cool arts in the special illustration rares for Hydreigon and for Hilda. I really like just like the dark, stormy, moody kind of vibe this Hydreigon has. And then Hilda, of course, Zebstrika again being one of my favorite Pokemon. I really do like having Hilda here. Just very, very important Pokemon trainer from the Black and White games, so it's good to see her here too. Now, for the top 5 cards, these are of course player focused. So if you're a collector, you know what you like art-wise, you know what you like in terms of card value. Here we're looking at cards that could theoretically see play and be good as cards in a deck. So again, these are the honorable mentions for White Flare. We're going to start out with Emboar. Emboar has the ability Infernal Fandango. As often as you like during your turn, you may attach a basic fire energy card from your hand to one of your Pokemon. And it does have an attack for 4 energy, 3 of those being fire, Heat Crash, which does 120 damage. Basically, you're probably not attacking with this unless you're very, very desperate and have an overabundance of energy. But Emboar is very interesting for its Infernal Fandango. It's very similar to Baxcalibur, very similar to Blastoise. There are a bunch of sorts of Magnezone. Most Pokemon have had this sort of effect in the past, including Emboar itself. In fact, it had exactly Infernal Fandango in the past. However, in our testing so far, at least there hasn't been a very good partner for Emboar, or at least we haven't found the right partner for Emboar. So while this card is super good and definitely has a lot of potential, and you should absolutely have a set of it for the future, I think right out of the gate, it's going to just be a keep an eye on it card. Speaking of keep an eye on it cards, we have Ignition Energy. I think this is a good card too. It's going to find the right home. Once it finds the right home, it's going to be amazing. This card has the effect of, if this card is attached to one of your Pokemon, discard it at the end of your turn. As long as this card is attached to a Pokemon, it provides colorless energy. If this card is attached to an evolution Pokemon, this card provides triple colorless energy instead. So in the Eternal format, for example, this would be very good for Wugtrio. In Standard, this would also be good for Wugtrio, actually. It's just a very good effect to have on a basically a triple colorless energy. However, it needs to find the home that will make it a great card in Standard. I don't know if we necessarily have that just yet. Now for the top 5. The top 5 themselves, the cards that are supposed to be the big bads from White Flare. We're going to start out with a reprint. We last saw this card in Rebel Clash. It is Tool Scrapper. Tool Scrapper says, choose up to 2 Pokemon tool cards attached to Pokemon in play, yours or your opponent's, and discard them. We've been talking, or a lot of people have been complaining rather, that the only real tool disruption in format is Ruffian, and Ruffian is a supporter, which makes it less than ideal. Tool Scrapper coming back is a huge round of applause moment. Everybody's super happy. However, it's also not seen it yet a ton of play in Japan, so that's why it's number 5 and not higher up on the list. That said, it's still a very good card. It will absolutely see play. It saw play last time it was in Standard. Definitely have a play set. If you already have older ones, just use those, but still a good card. Reshiram EX. Now, just like Zekrom EX in the Black Bolt review, this is the same general idea. You're doing more damage based on the prize cards that your opponent has taken, just like Charizard EX. It's good. It's very, very good. It's a great finisher for Charizard, in fact. This is a card definitely to have at least 1 or 2 of on hand for deck building. I think this is a fantastic card. We did try this going back to the honorable mention, we did try this in Embor. It's good there too. It's just not enough for that deck. But this card as a tech in something like Charizard, absolutely great. Definitely have a couple copies of that. Up at number 3 is Hilda. Hilda says, search your deck for an evolution Pokemon and an energy card. Reveal them and put them into your hand. Then shuffle your deck. This combination is super good if you are, especially if you're under item lock, where you can't use something like Earthen Vessel, you can't use something like Ultra Ball to find your evolutions. Hilda is able to open that opportunity to you. You are able to find those. And once we see our next Pokemon, you will absolutely understand why Hilda might be so important. But yeah, this card, very, very good, very, very flexible. It reminds me of Brock Scouting, where maybe it's not necessary for every deck to run it because they can do other things to do what they want to do for evolutions. But this card is absolutely great in the right decks. At number 2 is Jellicent. Jellicent EX has the ability Sea Curse. As long as this Pokemon is in the active spot, your opponent can't play any item cards or attach any Pokemon tool cards from their hand. So if you thought that Budew was a problem and that you get very frustrated playing against Budew, Jellicent, as demonstrated by both testing videos we did with it, it's a menace. It is quite a menace. It hurts enough that item cards can't be used, but it gets especially bad when you can't do tools either. It makes it feel like it's an anti-Arven card. It's like both types of cards that Arven could get for you to potentially bail you out. It can get them, but they don't do anything because you can't play them with Sea Curse. It makes things like Counter Catcher useless because it's shut off because of Sea Curse. It's a strong effect. So kill those Frillish before they become Jellicent. It does have an attack, Power Press for Psychic Colorless. It does 80 plus damage if this Pokemon has at least 2 extra energy attached. In addition to this attack's cost, this attack does 80 more damage. So you could do up to 160 damage if you have 4 energy attached to it, which is not that difficult to do if you're playing this in a Gardevoir deck. But of course, you're not wanting to attack with this. You're just having to attack with this because it has to stay in the active spot to maintain the Sea Curse effect. And then number 1 for White Flare is Brave Bengal. Brave Bengal is a card that I have wanted for a very long time. Silver Bengal, of course, very similar to this in the Black and White era. Brave Bengal says the attacks of the Pokemon this card's attached to, excluding any Pokemon in the rule box, do 30 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon EX before applying weakness and resistance. So for any deck that runs a bunch of single prize attackers, whether that's a deck completely dedicated to single prize attackers or one that just has a good number of them, this is a tool to just instantly boost the damage against those meaty, beefy, 300 plus HP Pokemon, or the really, really big beefy guys coming out in Mega Evolution in September. So we are going to have a field day with Brave Bengal. Brave Bengal is going to be an absolutely important card for those single prizer decks, especially that really rely on damage modifiers. And this is going to be their new favorite card. Anyway, that is it for White Flare. White Flare has some good cards. I feel like other than Jellicent and Brave Bengal, they're a little bit weaker than maybe Black Bolt is. But I think at the same time, White Flare has like a more generic, just good cards also, like the staple cards. So it's kind of a mix, right? You have the Tool Scrapper, but there's also Air Balloon in the other set. So anyway, that's White Flare. That is also it from me for today. There is going to be a video tomorrow, if you're watching this, for the ban list update for these 2 sets. So for the Eternal format specifically. So Black Bolt and White Flare's ban list update for the Eternal format. That will go live on Thursday. Thursday, of course, is not a day I normally have videos going out, but it will be going out. With that said, thank you all for watching. I will see you in the next one.